Meeting. Yes, we on. That's what's up. That's what's up. Well, peace, everybody. Peace, peace. Welcome to Remnants Gathering. I am Ernest, one half of Remnants Gathering. Today, or this evening, we got a special show. We have none other than our brother, Oni Osaru.
Peace, peace.
Who's going to definitely, delve into some things and enlighten all of us. And so we just gonna share, man. We glad to have you. Man, glad to be connected. You know what I'm saying? And so yeah, we going up from here. We live, so we, you know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Live in effect.
You said what now?
We live in effect. Yeah, I've been anticipating it as well. I've been anticipating it for a while, and I'm ready to get it popping.
Yeah, got the spirits flowing. Can't wait to get into this with you.
Yeah. First and foremost, I want to let everybody know how powerful of a couple you both are. You are this exceptional of displaying the energy that need to be displayed right now, especially in the times that we're enduring, starting with the whole COVID thing and everything else that's transpiring. We need to have a power couple show us how important it is to be spiritual, how important it is to raise this information and transform ourselves into the spiritual essence that's pouring out right now. And you guys do a good job. I've been watching you for a few years now, and y'all are exceptional.
Word.
That
Appreciate
feels
that,
so
brother.
fucking special.
Yeah, man.
You hit me in my heart chakra. It's like, oh shit. Damn, he put spotlight on us. We supposed to put the spotlight on you.
Right. But
I Saru, the masterful magician, the masterful alchemist, the teacher of all things. Subconscious and unconscious. We gotta bring something back now. We gotta give him that energy. So y'all welcome him so I can slid in here.
The living legend amongst us.
Right.
Yes.
We all the way up.
Yeah.
Because he, you know, it's the couple thing energy is different, but to just be you and you like, I'm just gonna put this out here.
That's
you know what I'm saying?
Right. Yep.
That's dope as hell too.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some people, I got a phone call about my information today. Some people be very disturbed by it, and I have to talk to them and bring them back into a perspective. Yeah, I can. I'm here to bother you.
Yeah.
I'm here to bother you, and I'm here to flip some stuff. You know, when your mama wake you up in the morning and open up that blind and that sun come in, you be like, oh, not yet.
Yeah. Wake up. Wake your ass up.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You know, people, we always say to get comfortable when you're uncomfortable, and to practice doing that. Because if you're always wanting to hear what makes you comfortable, then you fall into the category of people with itching ears. And so what happens is you stop evolving. You're no longer dancing with the harmonics of life in which you are here to experience. And so, you know, that's great. We need people to present perspectives that are challenging to our current thought process. And you still may come to your own conclusion, may be totally different from what he or we present, but you need to see all angles.
Yes.
We all collectively come here. I feel as though how people recognize God has to come down into individuals and share perspectives to get the whole entire picture.
Yeah, absolutely.
Perspectives, that's why we're here.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the main things we wanted to discuss, the reason why we wanted to put the show together for today was the afterlife, because there's so much information out there. It's really difficult to pinpoint, you know, what's accurate and what isn't. So we're just gonna hand it over to you and let you express to us the afterlife and just walk us through your process of your perspective.
Okay, well, let me open it up when we're discussing the afterlife. This is the ultimate mystery. Energy and spirit is separate. People think, because you get into the metaphysical community, you get into the occult community, and we have certain interpretations and things, and that's fine. As long as we're moving towards what we're trying to understand. The understanding of being in life is ultimately to understand death.
Yeah.
And knowing that death isn't death, death is just a transitional phase to what we call the afterlife, which is the divine, you know, going beyond the limitations of the physical and matter. Spirit is energy before matter. They talk about the feminine aspect, talk about the masculine aspect of the universe. Feminine is what we recognize as the invisible forces that's moving the atoms and the particles across the plane. And the masculine aspect will be the manifestation in matter of what's being moved. Just like in a sexual context, the male and the female conjoins for creation. Well, I would say the female is a representation of the creation. The male is a representation of destruction. The child is a representation of the regeneration. Our cells regenerate every day. You got to wash your face in the morning.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah.
These cells come out and regenerate. Well, when two male and female come together, you're conjoining DNA.
Yeah.
But that child isn't the DNA, or it just looks like your DNA conjoined. It's a brand new celestial entity that's inserted into that matter. That child is a whole new entity coming from a different space of energy coming into that matter, but the matter itself is still connected to the energy in the realm of the masculine. The entity comes from the feminine aspect, and that's what we always practice, learning the funerary text of the pharaohs and the sheiks, which is the moral title of pharaoh equivalent in America, because we don't discuss why they were building mounds. The mounds were to attribute what the afterlife is, what consciousness is. A pyramid is representative of consciousness rising out of the primordial waters. And the endpoint of the pyramid is called a pyramidion. That's the top or the capstone of the pyramid, is talking about the afterlife. At the top of the pyramid is the apex. This apex is the reconjoining back into the feminine aspect. I would go into my notes, but I'll say something. From an aspect of the afterlife, we are trying to understand. The biggest question is what happens when you die. There's going to be different experiences, just like we have different perspectives. Everybody's going to experience something differently, but ultimately, there is a hierarchy of how this thing goes. We're all going to the same place. There is levels, just like there's a ripple effect when a droplet goes into a river or ocean. It's a ripple effect. First ripple is the first order. Then the more and more it goes out into dead people. So that's the divine spark. And most of us is going to be in the upper triad, or even engaging this information.
Right.
But yeah.
Yeah. So it's funny you talk about the ripples, because I can speak from a personal experience and then we'll let you continue. But the very first thing that I entered when my heart stopped was what people call the tunnel. In hindsight, with knowing what I have studied up to this point, I know that that tunnel was actually more like the portal, or what we would call the black hole, or what we would call a wormhole. And so I entered into that, and it was the darkest blackness ever. But there was this very bright light at the end of this tunnel. And you go through it, it feels like warp speed. It's happening so fast. And so I went through this tunnel, and within a split second, everyone who I was conscious of had died before me was present and standing there awaiting to meet me. And kind of like a crossroads kind of feeling situation, where at that point I knew that I had a choice, and with free will. And we do, you can will your death. A lot of people don't know this, but you really can choose when you exit. I believe that there are several exit points, but I do believe some books talk about 3 exit points, but you can choose and will your own death. And this is why people lose their spouses and then they die a few weeks, a few months later, because they gave up. They don't want to live. They don't want to exist anymore. So I had to make this decision. And my family that was there, that was present, we communicated telepathically. There was no need for words or anything like that. And expressions were actually stronger than using words. So they communicated to me, we knew you were coming. Nice to see you. You know, they knew about a daughter that I hadn't had yet, which they mentioned. How's your other daughter? I'm like, I only had one. Okay, so I was like, wow, I'm gonna have another daughter. Okay, cool. So after that, I turned around and I experienced what people would consider to be source consciousness. Like, where does consciousness come from? That question. I don't know a way to describe this supremeness, but this existence was right there in front of me. And I would describe it as light, as bright as the sun, but I could look at it. It didn't hurt to look at it. And this light was more like photonic, but it moved like plasma, and it moved through me. There was no beginning and end. There were no walls, no ceiling, no floor. You couldn't, everything was infinite. It's like looking at the horizon. And so then the conversation ensued, and I decided to come back. But it was first after I was shown these snapshots of experiences, people, and things that I had not done yet, that I had agreed to do in my soul contract. Then at that point, I decided to come back, and I was back in my body. So that was one of my experiences. Yeah.
I've had similar experiences where when we're talking about being in between these spaces, there's a word from a scientific standpoint of the study called hypnagogia. This hypnagogia is a space of waking state in the dream state. And currently we're going through a process called dreamweaving. Dreamweaving is a new phenomenon of hypnagogia, which are fractal data from the waking realm of a holographic reality. And we are the artists that are using this 3D holographic reality, we call the physical, as our artist tools to draw the reality in the real worlds of this hyperdimensional resonance of where we're going to in this afterlife. So our entire life is an opportunity. Every day is another slate for you to capture this reality of what you're moving into. We are all stars, and we're moving through this cycle called the galaxy, the galactic center, whatever you want to say. And when we look up to the stars, we're looking at ancestors and energies of what's relaying the intelligence that you came across. Some type of intelligence reached out to you. Melatonin and cortisol, which is a spinal fluid, it flows into the pineal gland neurons are beginning to develop at this time when it flows, and it creates neurological pathways, specific ley lines hidden in the untapped of the self. We all are gathering experiences of the day, throughout the day, or today, and throughout your week. And there's something called memory consolidation, which is the residue of what the subconscious is trying to digest every day and during the week.
Mm-hmm.
We are battling something called ignorance and deterioration. Everything in this realm deteriorates. The spirit and the soul does not deteriorate. It transforms. Matter is nothing but a tool that the soul and the spirit made a contract of, so that we can transform the spirit and the soul into something else more greater, moving towards this thing called a hyperboloid, which is, we're talking about gene transfer. They discovered, the people who stole everything, there is something they can't quite understand when it comes to the afterlife, and looking at the funerary or the corpus text between the Kemet, the Tartarian strips, the American Naga strips, so many different pieces of fractal DNA codes that the ancestors left on the hieroglyphs in anthropomorphic form. They just relate everything to these aliens and big heads. But ultimately what you're looking at is how to not come back here. The reason why you don't want to come back here, this is what you call a school. When you talk about universe, university, and the word shell comes from the word Sheila in the Jewish or Hebraic, it's more older text. The Sheila is the physical body or the shell that this divine essence flows within, and is going through a course. The course is called the cycle. That's why we study the zodiac. The zodiac and everything is showing how this divine essence is moving through a cycle to become something new. When you're talking about Kundalini and meditation, raising the Kundalini energy up the spine is replicating a map outside of the physical into the afterlife. So the more you meditate, you're developing a habit of escaping death. And I'm showing that on this picture here, right in front of you. As you can, there's one picture of, you know, that's a goddess right there. You can tell by them hips, you know, what race she is.
Hips don't lie.
Hips ain't lying right there. Hey, you call her Amma. Call her Mama.
Right.
It's this space we're in. Okay, stay on that. Also, you see a pole right here. That pole.
The speaker just went completely out.
Y'all hear me still?
Hold on.
Hold on. Not yet. We don't know if it's on our end or yours.
Can't hear y'all.
No. Is it dead?
What do you say? Do you say something?
Yeah. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can. I can hear you.
You want to just do it through the laptop and see if it changes anything?
Okay.
Give us a second.
Okay, people in the chat said they can hear us. They can still hear us.
Yeah.
It was us being able to hear you.
Because I'm wondering.
Oh, okay.
Hear them. Can they hear the both of us?
I'll tell you what, we can just hear. What does it say on the screen?
Okay, they say they hear y'all.
So they say they can hear us.
Okay. Let's just do this. Can you hear?
That was weird. It just was working fine up to now.
Can you hear us?
Yeah, we can still hear y'all.
Okay. Okay. We just gonna do it like that. I don't know what happened. Everything was fine. All of a sudden, just
Okay.
That tends to happen when, you know, every time I start doing something.
yeah, yeah.
But yeah.
Get into the archons and parasites, and they
Oh
don't
man.
information getting out. They trying their best to hold on to this. Hold
Right.
us here.
Can't stop. Nothing can stop. But yeah, we do have a problem. We have a
Houston, we have a problem.
we have a problem. Unfortunately, we have a lower self.
Yeah.
But the lower self is essential to this process of the afterlife, because without the law of polarity, one extreme of one end can't understand the other extreme. The masculine and the feminine has to separate, just like the higher self has to separate from the lower self. Not to say whether the feminine is lower, whether the higher is. I'm actually understanding in mythology that in the beginning, feminine aspect was on top, representing space and the cosmos. And the male, which was called Jeb, in the Kemetic text, was the earth. Oh, but now they call it Gaia or Gaia. And now the woman is the earth. And the male became, what was his name? Uranus. Or Uranus, that's what they pronounce it. It's really Uranus. Uranus becomes the sky god, or becomes the cosmos. So it's like we both, as melanated people, we both experience both roles, male and female. And this process is essential to everything.
Yeah, it definitely is. Yeah.
Which takes you to why relationships leading into the afterlife, the best way to control the afterlife is to control the counterparts that are copulating, control the souls that are being created, the frequency in which the souls are being created, and control the narrative to keep us entrapped where we having to come back. So it makes sense, because people wonder, like, what's the connection? Is the relationship between the melanated woman and the melanated man really that much of a threat that is never put on the movie screens? Hollywood never portrays it in a positive manner. What's up with that? And that's the conclusion that we've come to, is that this is more so about what happens after this than just what's happening during this thing called life.
That's absolutely correct. And they're going to continue to hide it, but luckily they have us, and they have people alike that is on a frequency that sees there's something weird going on, and there's something they're hiding.
Right.
And yeah, and it's really they see, genetically, as melanated people, we have already went through the spiritual. See, that's why you can go ahead and get you a glass of wine. Just go ahead and chill, because your ancestors did the work for you. I'm not saying that you don't have no work to do. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that genetically, being a part of the first race, this isn't a point of view of who's superior. You've been here many times, so it's like you know what's going on. Like sometimes, they talk about black on black crime, or they always portray someone melanated as a criminal or robbing something, like, or they're thieves. Well, sometimes the soul or the spirit, since it's been here so many times, it can recognize when it's in a bullshit system.
Right.
It's like, okay, this ain't right. Let me go ahead and get me some, take me some shoes up out this store or whatnot, because nothing makes sense but how this stuff is set up. Not to say that, they're right, that who cares?
Yeah, I definitely reasoned the hell out of stealing a bunch of shit myself. Never made sense to me, you know? It's like, we're paying taxes like this. I was 10. I was like, well, damn, mama, you gave them 10 cents. We're paying for that. So I was like, well, 9 later, shit, we technically paid for it. I was a smart ass thief.
Yeah.
I had a reason.
I was up in Walmart stealing Pokemon cards.
Man.
No. And felt absolutely nothing when you did it.
At all. At all.
Absolutely nothing.
Trying to make you feel bad, but you're like, why you tripping?
Yeah.
They steal from you all the time. You slaving at the workhouse. I'm just trying to make it even.
That's what it is. You know, the pressure is on us from society to feel like we got to fit in that bottle. So that's what we do. You know what I'm saying?
This nation was built on thievery.
Yes.
It's so hypocritical.
Yes, yeah.
But I digress.
Well, yeah, that pressure is quintessential to what we're talking about. Carbon needs pressure to become diamond. The Black race needs pressure to become diamond. They know that, and they know also when you're talking about why we have pressure. Certain, when you look at the archon or Gnosticism, they speak about different bloodlines. Bloodline of Set or Seth, and bloodlines in the Bible of Adam or Adam Cadman. There's an Adam Cadman, and there's Set. All of the 3 sons. Let's just say there were several floods, not one. And we were sinking into a cellular underworld, which is going back to what we began this video with, talking about how matter and energy is intertwined, but spirit is not the same as energy. We're talking about something energy cosmically, but spirit has to come into matter. It's separate. It's not a part of this matter thing. The spirit is representative of this goddess named Sophia. This is why you get the word sophisticated. All of these terms is an etymology to a much older ancient. English is laughable, really. It's really a laughable language. It's so messed up. It's such a language. Nonetheless, we utilize it at a very high level. So I guess we had to experience the lowest level of energy or lowest level of language, to and utilize that to transform even further. But Sophia has to come, and she descends into matter, and she becomes Akamoth, or another name for Akamoth is Norea, Norea, which is connected to Noah. Norea is one of Noah's daughters, but in the Gnostic text, Norea is Sophia in matter. So it's the fallen daughter in matter, and she has to climb back up, back to heaven. So we have to come down into hell, just like Jesus in the Bible had to go to hell to take the keys from the devil. After he died, he went to hell. So the preachers really like skip over that. They don't like to talk about how Jesus went to hell to get the keys. He had to go back and give it to God. Still talking about this feminine aspect that most Abrahamic religions really hate, the feminine aspect, which that's a part of the Jesuit.
Yeah, that is so the truth.
And it's very intelligent that we are working our way through this, because it just shows you the polarity and the duality in which we exist. Because the second time I died, I had a completely opposite experience, and I went into complete and utter darkness, no light. And at this particular time, I traveled through 9 levels of consciousness, and on each level of consciousness, there were different people with different experiences, and that experience was being played like on a projector, like a hologram. And so I could see what path was taken and what decisions was made that led to whatever level of consciousness they were on and what we would call hell. And so there was a Christ figure who escorted me and explained to me these different levels. And at the lowest level was what we would call the adversary. And so he was right in the center. And it was almost like he was overseeing the modulators and the computer program of this lower consciousness. And so it was his job to present challenges and also to give assignments to what we would call lower dimensional entities. And at the time I was a Christian, and I couldn't understand, like, okay, the Bible didn't say anything about levels of consciousness, or, you know, it didn't make sense to my Christian mind. But as I look back, it makes sense, because the afterlife is very much the fabric in which the decisions we are making is comprised of.
Absolutely.
So there is no one thing to arrive at. It's infinite. But I only saw 9 levels of that consciousness, but it was really interesting.
Right. And that's what we're talking about. There is a hierarchy, just as you said, and the adversary is based on perception and it's based on correspondence. We have to be chastised, and we need something to push us. When you're so great, as it is tribal, I would advise every melanated family to purchase the book by Valencia Straighton, Straiton, called Celestial Ship of the North. Bobby Hemmett recommends that book as well. But very exceptional, powerful. It's such a good book. I haven't even finished it. When I started, I'll read a page and I just close it like, damn. I'm gonna have to save that for later, you know, when I need to download. But I have a lot of it. But it shows us how great, when you understand the journey celestially of what we've already done. Now we're going through this phase. This is the shield or the hell phase. This is the physical matter. You know, it's not too bad down here. You know, it's just, you know, it's bad. But at least we have the spirit. Could you imagine this without the spirit or without the soul?
And the place where I went into, that's what it was void of. It was void of that life force essence that we call spirit. It was such an immense sense of emptiness and nothingness. And there is no sense of time, so it's not as if that's going to end for you. So those souls were begging to be reincarnated, actually.
Right.
They were begging to come back and do it again.
So what would be in your what would be the approach for people, because like what we're saying, it's all based on perspectives. It's based on these different perspectives as to what state we will be in when we transition. What do you think will help people to open up more? Because it's safe to, I don't know, sometimes I feel like it's safe to say if somebody's still stuck in those religions, then, you know, unless they have an experience, a near-death experience that could possibly trigger them to come online. What do you think the approach is? Because we got a lot of loved ones that, you know, and as she said, even when she had that experience, she's seen familiars on the other side. And so what do you think would be the approach to kind of like to help our people to have a more open perspective about it? Because we see Hollywood portraying the afterlife that, you know what I'm saying, all the time. That's one of the things that they've always portrayed.
Right.
Yet it's still somewhat taboo. You know what I'm saying? We think we already know what the afterlife is all about. You know what I'm saying? And so, you know, we got to be more open-minded, in my opinion, so we won't be.
It's a really difficult thing to do, though, because again, it goes back to free will, and each person must choose their own path, and there are so many determining factors into that. But one thing I want to add, I had having near-death experiences put me on the frequency to connect with other people who had near-death experiences as well. And one of these persons was someone who was dead even longer than I was. I think it was about 12 minutes, clinically dead. He was a Christian. And do you know who he met when he died? Anpu. Who was the very first, he knew nothing about, he was describing it to me. And as I'm listening to the description, I'm like, yo, that's Anubis or Anpu, the older form. He was just like, who is that? He knew nothing about it. He was like a straight up Jesus freak. And he met with Anpu. He met with the description of Ra and also the description of Mayat, because his heart was weighed. And he was also put on a boat and carried on this boat across this river, this moving body of water, before he came back into his body. So it's interesting because there's so much Kemetic science tied up within Christianity.
Oh, yeah.
You know, maybe some of them have an experience because of that, but I wanted to share that. I thought that would be interesting to tie into what you're sharing with us.
That's very loaded. Just to piggyback on, I'm gonna get to what that was powerful what you just said, but Hollywood showcasing afterlife. I'm showing everyone a movie called Flatliners. Two different ones. There's one talking about what Khamsin was saying, the experience of dying and seeing something beyond the magnetic sphere or the magnetosphere outside of this dome or whatever you want to call it, flat earth, round earth. This movie, there's one in the 90s and there's one that came out, I believe about 2 or 3 years ago. It's going to give you a good look at the void, entering the void, because when they died in the movie, somehow they were able to wake these people up by doing some type of medical procedure, and the people got to see what death was, and they would come back and tell each other, you know, what they saw. But when they came back, something else followed them back. But it's interesting you was talking about Anpu as well. Yes, genetically, these anthropomorphic figures exist in our DNA. And it's actually, when you look at them, showing you how the histones and the phage lambda bacteria and viruses on a genetic level can make the shape. It is shaped the same way that these deities look. So it's like, how do these people know what genetics or DNA look like when they didn't, you know, they didn't have no microscope or something like, or did they? Did they maybe, you know, they had, not to say the microscope of what we talking about, they had some spiritual mental powers that we are trying to obtain once again. But you was asking me, Ernest, what can I say to those people, you know, from a perspective point of view, what can, that's new to this in religion? I would tell them, one, there's nothing wrong with the Bible from a sense of your interpretation of it. You have to remove the characters and put yourself in each of the stories, and realizing that each of the story is a lesson of the soul, is different levels of lessons of the soul and the spirit. So that's hard, I understand. I would tell them, if they need help, to join Khamsin Academy. We're teaching. The word Khamsin means becoming the mother and father of yourself
Mm.
That's what the Egyptians were talking about. Because I'm gonna talk about karma in a matter of fact. I'm gonna put up karma right now because that's the big thing that religions harp on. You do something bad, your ass going to get up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let me put in perspective real quick. When you talk about this death thing or this afterlife thing, do you, and this is a rhetorical question, but do what you do in this realm have some type of ramification of where you go? You know, the karma thing, or is this happening to you because what you did a few years back is coming back to attack you? Is that a true thing? And I'm here to tell you that there's many interpretations of karma, and you have to look back at the origins of the word Dharma. What I'm having in front of you, what I'm showing you is the process of us descending through this, what it's interpreted to look like. This is what the spaceship is right here. You also see the Pisces or the vesica of Jesus, the fish, Agon. Then you see the toroidal field of how Kundalini moves in the body, and you see the colors of all the chakras, all of it together. This is your UFO. This is the process of Dharma and karma also. For instance, karma is the consequences of what the compound entity itself, which is you, was, quote unquote, at the moment of dissolution into an alchemical process. The highest science of chemistry is called alchemy, which is the process of transformation. There is no karma, how the world speaks of. His or her karma is himself or herself, or he or she themselves is the results, the fruitage, the production of every preceding thought, feeling, emotion, or act in the virtual, unending series of past rebirths, each such birth automatically reproducing itself as modified by its own willing and doing, with the consciousness acting upon what we call compound aggregate, thus producing karma or modifications in the substance of man himself. I'll explain that once I get through this. Dharma is what we call, in the eyes of, when you talk about the bodhisattvas or Buddha, which is the mastered self. Buddha is the master. That's another form of Christ. There's so many Christs. You have to understand this. The word Christ comes from Christos, just means a transformed alchemical process. Is when something completely transforms into something else. We all have. I'm pretty sure all three of us was not into the science about 10, 20 years ago.
No.
Absolutely.
We're the representative of Christ. The same thing the Christians talk about.
Yeah.
But man is a pilgrim, a child of the universe, who at times is blinded by Maya, the great illusion of cosmic existence, and therefore needs to be shown the way or law, which is Dharma, pointing to the fact that only by becoming rather than mere being could man become the greater man, which he is in his essential constitution. By his progress or her progress from stage to stage in evolutionary changes, which are continuous and uninterrupted, a man or woman may raise him or herself as high as the highest gods, or may debase him or herself through their willing and doing to the law and dread levels of the beings in the so-called hells, which is found in the Buddhistic literature. There was a time not so long ago where they taught of something called nirvana. Let's break down what this nirvana is. We're talking about the afterlife. When we're talking about annihilation, utter incomplete, was supposed to be the end of every living conscious being. When that being had attained unto the stage of their inner growth, where it entered into a nirvanic state, they pointed out, naturally enough, in the Sanskrit, the meaning of nir, nir, which means out, and vana, B-A-N-A, the root word of ba, means to blow. Hence, they sagely and logically enough said that nirvana means to blow out, as a candle flame is blown out by breath. So it does, but what is it that is blown out? What is it that ceases to exist? Is it the unifying spiritual force which brings this compound entity or you into a new in a serial line of succession which has no known beginning, in which the Buddhist teaching itself shows to be something which reproduces itself in a series of illusions because it is compounded in vehicles? This is impossible, because if this individualizing or unifying energy were blown out or annihilated, it obviously could not continue to reproduce itself as the inspiriting energy of newly compounded body. What they mean about blown out or the compounds is the resulting from or born or produced by the karma of the individual. This karma is the individual, him or herself, because the Buddhist teaching is that what is reproduced is the karma of the preceding individual, that any composite entity changes from instant to instant, and that at each new instant, the change is the result or effect of the preceding instant of change. So that's big to digest. Let's break that down. What they're basically saying, we can shorten it in a few sentences. Karma is the beginning. Karma is what you were before the transformation. So once you begin to formulate or go through the stage, I remember y'all brought Dr. Blind on, that great brother. He broke down stages of the consciousness. Going through these stages, and the stage before is representative of your karma. The stage before now. So there isn't a moral karma at all. What you do in matter has nothing to do with the spirit or the soul realm. What you're doing mentally, combining it through the energy that's flowing through this matter, and how you are obtaining the will of that compound entity, which is the divine self that came into matter to a lower state to become something new, which is, they talk about in Kemetic text, Kepra, becomes something new, the dung beetle. A dung beetle is born from shit.
Right.
Okay, how is that possible? It comes out of nothing, because shit is nothing. So this dung beetle, the reason why they deified it, very exceptional people.
Yeah.
They're showing you a process that from nothing, everything comes. So we have to dissolve ourselves. The process of karma is the dissolving, it's an alchemical process. And Dharma is the renewal of the law of the transformation. So I hope that explains the fears of karma to those who couldn't really grasp that.
Yeah, I hope that's liberating for people.
Yeah.
You know, because really when you look at it, karma was very strategically set up, and I see how it was used on our people, especially in terms of colonization and the birth of morality. It was
Right.
just a game. It's a 3D game. But to know that we're in an omniverse and that you're multidimensional also helps to free you up from the karmic morality being stuck in that paradigm. So this is why evil people, what we would call evil people, can do good and have plenty of resources and seem to thrive. And we're like, what are we doing wrong? I'm a good person. It's so much deeper than that.
Right. And to build on what you're saying, I'm showing a picture of a goddess named Durga in the Vedic text. And this is also what I'm describing, because you're seeing this goddess destroy these demons. This is what we go through day by day. We are going through this process of creation, which is generation, destruction, and regeneration. Every day, your cells has to rejuvenate itself. That's why you wash. Why you do. I mean, washing is a ritual. People say, oh, I don't do no ritual. I don't do no devil stuff. You don't talk about no devil stuff, you know. but you're doing a ritual when you wash.
Yeah. Yeah, I was just talking about this energy in our relationship, actually. Durga shows up often. She comes to turn his head off.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Anytime he stick his head out there, here it comes, whether it's Durga or Kali or a lot of these energies.
Yeah.
The conversation, the spiritual conversation underneath these goddesses is the same. You know, it's a lot of similarities in the mythologies. And
right.
a wise person pays attention to the common denominator. And then you're able to figure out the game, the simulation, the illusion that we've been put in.
That's 100% correct. What melanin is?
That shield sure does look like a black dot.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm showing you right now what gold is broken down to its smallest state.
Yeah.
This is a Merkaba.
Yeah.
This is what is inside of you. This is the same thing you see right here. It's the same thing you see right here. They say that Anunnaki was mining for gold.
Yeah.
Understand that there is a sun inside of you. Each and every one of us. You are, just like you look outside. See, when you got to understand this. The symbol of the sun, when you go outside in the morning, the sun is an encyclopedic iconography, which it can mean the light of God, or the star Sirius, or Orion, or these other stars we know, or Betelgeuse. Oh, I love y'all Betelgeuse video. I'm going to put that live for y'all. That Betelgeuse video y'all put together changed lives. But the sun is symbolic interpretation of multi-dimensional layers of the soul. The symbol of the sun itself is defining linguistics. They describe, as it is in many disciplines, that the sun are symbolic components of a symbol of a very complex science of how something is controlling the cosmic layers of the universe. Because these layers goes into multiple discourses and multiple outward disciplines on a physical level, it can also mean that things contrary to thought have to be put into a duplex symbolism, which is reverse symbolism, which is defining the opposite polarity of our point of view. The sun is the ultimate symbol to for you to look outside in the morning when you wake up, of you yourself being representative of the center of your own universe. We have our own universe within us. The sun is, when you look at it, that's you. When you look at the sun, you should look, oh, that's me. I'm here. You see what I'm saying? It means when we're going into this afterlife, you become the central star of your own universe. And these planets or these worlds are based on your imagination that you accumulate as the artist of what you're composing into a canvas in this weaving process that I explained in the beginning. So the dreams are your tools to weave a reality towards the afterlife. What you are focusing your mind on, if it's too much human stuff, well, when you sometimes when you pass on, it means you might come back as another human.
Yeah.
You focused a lot on human pain, especially that's why they got all these distractions like football and sports. You know, a lot of people dream about, that's all they dream about, sports.
Yeah.
Something from, or that they're trying to trap you. They don't want you to move into the real afterlife. The real afterlife is a cosmic light that isn't a light within ultra, infrared, gamma. All of that is a trap light. There is light inside of us that's beyond this universe. It doesn't even have an explanation. But the true light comes from this darkness. And when you close your eyes, the first light was darkness. You don't understand that. The darkness is the same description of Kepra. All things come from nothingness. All things comes that you have to close your eyes to go to sleep. You have to close your eyes to die. So this nothingness is present with you at all times. And melanin is we have nothingness within us. That's what the melanin is. That's why during slavery, we had nothing. We still created the most advanced things this country still uses today, like iron board. Something insignificant as that, you need an iron board. I'm pretty sure y'all use iron boards. A slave created that. How did these people with nothing create such essential things for life? It's because that melanin is creating something from nothing. It's a primordial light beyond the realm of light of
Something really difficult for me to come to terms with. I actually did a Merkaba meditation today to activate my Merkaba before doing this show today. So it's interesting because we did not pre-plan this, y'all. So I wasn't expecting to see this. But I want to share just a little bit of experience that I had really quickly, which was in meditation. I met my star solar self. And within this meditation, she is worshipped and exists within this world culture of people who understand, understand, overstand that her existence determines their existence. And so they care for me. They are present. They give praise and worship for the fertilization of their crops and things like that. And so I've been visiting this place for a really long time. And it was only until this year that I figured out what was happening. And there's this radiant glow that when I go into this body never moves. This body has periods where it gives off more light and periods where it gives off less light, but they are always venerating, honoring me in this other multidimensional existence of myself. And so I asked myself, how does this relate? What can I take from this and apply to life? And it's exactly as you are saying. So even though we haven't went into the system in which we may be the solar or the lunar energy for that system, the multidimensional parts of ourselves, when you look at the Merkaba, it's already there. There is no here and there. you know, everything is everything. And so, yes, this is really, really, really good. So I tell people to, when I do readings, to help people make tough life decisions. I'll tell them to remember that after this, you become a moon or a star or sun in another solar system, and you become just as important as we rely upon the sun for life to happen. And that just helps to scale down the distractions to what matters. And so Hollywood keeps us to focus on this life, but if you could pan out and zoom and focus and see it from many more angles than you are, that is true illumination from a place of darkness in which we came when we came into this 3D existence. So we're creating light from darkness now.
That's right.
Beautiful process.
Yeah.
Every time we come together and we have this conversation, we're changing the universe.
Yeah.
Changing our universe. This universe means one song. There's one song, but there's something called the omniverse. And we have all songs, all of the songs within us.
Yeah.
We think we make these, what they say, they said Lucifer was the angel over music.
Yeah.
Why do Black people have so much gifts for music? You know? Or music and muse means like fairy or entity. You ever wake up in the morning and you see these fractals of light? Wake up and stuff sometimes. Those are fairies worshiping you. People don't know what they're looking at. There's absolutely things in these other realms that know what we are. They like, that's God right there. Oh, just like how we see Hollywood stars. That's Denzel. There's entities that look at us saying, yo, that's God right there. God walking around right now.
People don't know how important they are, and that's why I shared that meditation. You really are that important. Because when I go into this meditation, if I had a day where I was stressing all that day over bullshit, like 3D stuff that really don't matter, when I go there, the sun is dim, it's cold, the children are cold, shit is dying, and it forces me to go ahead and activate the part of myself that I have allowed to be pressed into the simulation that is no longer creating the world in which my existence is so important. So religion told us you're not important. You're nothing. You're nothing without Jesus. You're filthy as period pads, basically, because that's what they was comparing it to.
Wretch. They call us a wretch.
Right.
A wretch like me.
Yeah, right.
Man, so the opposite.
Man.
That's where you will not be able to master yourself in that energy.
That's right. As I'm showing, just like what you were saying, they're showing this process right here. This is meditation on a chart of what you're doing. Also, they show the 8 octave, which is at the bottom of your spine, is the 8 of the 8 hit stones of your DNA. It goes way back to the first angels. We are angelic beings. Angels meaning angels of light. But this light we're talking about isn't a light in this 3D dimension. It's a light that should not be here, but because it's here, we are given the ability of becoming immortal in the afterlife. Immortal means transforming beyond matter, is being immortal. The spirit is the imaginative form, gaining attributes through acquiring light, which is the gods. Knowledge of unknown perspectives is the gods. If one can meditate or control the lucid dream, which is a spiritually created reality from one's mind, i.e. spirit, the brain is producing consciousness, is limiting the algorithms of the 3D dimension to protect you from too much of the other side, which will make you mad if you all got it at once. But There's a implicative and implicated universe into what we call the particularized universe. The dream is an empty slate. In the meditation is called the dream as well. People don't know meditating is a part of dream.
Mm-hmm.
The dream is an empty slate for us to develop memorization of our soul pattern. The reason why we forget when we come out of our mother's womb is that the psyche was designed to be wiped clean.
Mm-hmm.
In the pleroma, we are all the same. We are one. In the psyche, which is the physical space of the morphogenetic space, which is different for different people. So God could break himself up and become individuals to transform his or her perspective of a new reality that's being created. Your awareness comes from the spirit. The brain is filtering consciousness out of the psyche. It's not producing it. Your brain is not producing it. It's filtering it. Controlling the dream is controlling the imaginative realm, and this will allow you to escape incarnation. How can you incarnate into the past or the future or not at all? The angels were said to be masters of waveforms. We are the masters of the waveforms of light beings. They are light beings that have gathered portions of light from many star systems. The waveform is the spirit, which is a vibration, the logos or breath. The vibration is then manifested and vibrates into light, which is the soul. The soul is sol in Latin, star, sun, light. This light is a photon or a particle which gives birth to the physical world, which is a hologram. How the illusion is observed is paradoxical. Synchronizing the expression of spirit, soul, light, body in temporal time is directed through the multiple incarnations of your genetics. But on a quantum level, you are effecting the better versions of your future self by meditating, which they're showing you right here. The soul pattern is based upon pattern trajectory. Pattern trajectory is how the dream or the channel that we get daily, when something comes and tells you, when that voice comes and say, can't do that. And sometimes we ignore it and then we just slap ourselves like, why I didn't listen to that first thing?
Exactly.
You're being chastised by your higher self. The logos is the word of the spirit. And remember in the Bible, they said before Christ was Christ, he was called the word, which is the vibration. This is connected to what they call the world soul. The world soul is a manifestation of spirit in archetypal forms, which becomes vegetables, animals, which are the atypical forms of the world soul. These are archetypical patterns of particularized realities. The archetypical form is representative organically as the movement of spirit. It appears organic as a light, which is our soul or oneself, or what they call orgone. Orgone is a photon. A photon produces a ripple, which is a vibrating stream, which is the rift in time. By meditating, you're creating a rift of time. And on a quantum level, you're enabling yourself to create a better version of the future for where you're going.
It's really interesting because it puts you in the mind of the movie Back to the Future and what was really happening there. Because I remember hearing the term and thought that it was enigmatic. Like, how are you going future is forward. You know, how are you going back? And it's interesting that you say that. What got me deep into meditation actually was pain, physical and psychological pain. And so a lot of times I tell people your reason for doing what you do will have an impact on the success of doing it. And so I orchestrated this whole thing for the outcome, the potential outcome. And so the way it's given to me, when you meditate, I hear this a lot. People are obsessed with being able to stop the thoughts. Like, I can't stop the thoughts to even meditate. But there are many forms of meditation. But true meditation is just being able to hear the voice of the soul speak. And it may speak to you through many different fractals, through many different fragments of yourself. But in meditation, I've learned a lot of this. I have read a lot of books. I pick up a few and it just validates what I'm learning. And it causes me to not rely upon written knowledge because I'm writing it as I go. And so even with the spells and the potions and the recipes, I'm doing something that hadn't been done before, if there is a before. But so to speak, you want to allow the thoughts to move as a stream. And once you're able to witness the thoughts move past you and let go of them, that is true meditation. So if you go into the Tao or a lot of the other teachings of being able to master the monkey mind, it's more so witnessing. And this removes the judgment. If you're able to be more integrated to hear your soul speak by being able to just witness yourself and not condemn and judge yourself. And so right now, for a lot of people, we like Kobe, great example. Kobe was somebody that I would consider to be someone who mastered this thing called life. He became the ultimate alchemist in many ways. And he went into a system like basketball that was used to distract and dominated the distraction. And then he come out. So for him to come to me when he left his body was huge. So I was like, damn, bro, I didn't think I would be on your radar, you know? And it was a huge compliment. And he was just like, no, I did life. You know, and he gave me so much. He came to me for 3 straight days and I had pages and pages and pages, a lot of stuff I hadn't even released, stuff that he told me about how things really work. So I released what he gave me permission to release, just to honor him and his presence. But it's really interesting because as we are going through this simulation of other people, and then we have AI hacking into it, AI wants to enter into the afterlife and dominate. It's really not even about this life. They want to be able to dominate our presence once we leave this plane. It's really interesting, you know, how I get that bird's eye view on those things. So in readings, I tell people, try not to obsess about death, because the program that we've been placed in, it makes us so obsessive to the point where you're afraid to live. You're afraid to make decisions. You're afraid to take on new responsibilities. You're afraid to start a business. You're afraid to put your information out there and allow people to pass criticism, you know, allow people to, because me and Ernest can't stop people from saying. We get trolls and we get people who express how they feel, you know. We call Satanists. I just got called out for being a witch, which I'm very proud of.
Witch.
You know, but it's about the alchemy of life. And if you obsess about death, you will not live. And you cannot live until first you have released the obsession that has been placed on us about death. When you do that, you have blurred the lines, and now you are truly existing as you were intended to. Just kind of want to slide that in there.
That's right. I'm gonna leave them with also a meditation technique that I try to stress people in Khamsin Academy. You should put your body under magical control. What I mean by magical, get all the stuff of the world. Let's focus on something more cosmic of energy. You should be laying down, or you can sit comfortably. You can repeat something we have in the class. You can refer back to the class, but it's called a sound concentration technique. But I won't cover that right now. But select a comfortable word of power while playing a metronome. Metronome is the thing that goes tick. Only use the specific word to block out the chatter of the thoughts. For example, select the word or thou, ra, amen, Emmanuel. These are just examples, you know. Create your own words. I would tell you to create your own rhythm or word. The more words you make up of your own, the more powerful your magic becomes. And magic is just the ability to use your will to transform the physical realm. And such, magic is, the explanation can be a whole video itself, but that's to sum it up. Separate each syllable in the word you select. Separate each syllable, emphasizing the vibration of the tone in your mind first. Do this for 10 minutes. While the metronome continues to play, sound out this specific word in meditation until it repeats itself even in your mind while you're sleeping. If it doesn't, the imagination is limited. Maybe a clone.
Yeah.
Find something to repeat in your mind you have control over. Play the metronome and synchronize the vibration of the word with your soul and become it. This is equivalent to a push-up for mind-shaping energy, which we teach. Magic is earned, not given. Yeah. Now you must teach your mind how to rebuild your reality. Begin with the image. Begin with one image. The Christ is one. You must start at one. You are already zero, as we described with nothingness. Or you were aware that there was one image stopping you from becoming the adept. Lay down or get comfortable in a chair. Test your senses. Imagine the sensation starting in your belly. There's two stars inside of you. One is in your belly. There's a book called The Second Brains. It's your stomach. I call one star Polaris, that's what they describe it in the text. And there's another star called Thuban, which is the dragon. And I'll get into that when, you know. But this is a sensitive area of psychic powers in your stomach, breathing. Only you can etherically feel the sensation in your belly that you've imagined. Once you acknowledge it's a feeling in the reality you're in, make it a good mood. Now let me show you the magic. Concentrate on that sensation, but direct what you are feeling into any type of image. Start with a triangle, square, crescent, or ankh. This is your choice. With your eyes closed, use a psychic effort to connect the sensation in your belly to the image in your mind's eye within the darkness of your mind. Allow the dark matter to assist you on your assignment by making the color of the object bright so that it can be distinctively seen, separated from the darkness. This is a good technique for sigils, those who know what that is. Some of you will repeat this while under the influence. We got sacred blue lotus flower. You know, if you need some assistance with things, you know, this is my little program. Yeah. We got a lot of things over here. You know, we got hot page.
It's hard to get too.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna send y'all some too. I'm gonna send y'all something exceptional. This is a Ubu thing right here. You open this up and you eat this. You astral travel during sleep. I haven't touched it yet. I can have that, but or marijuana, you know, whatever. Which is that? Okay. Alchemy is adding to a formula to get results. Alchemy is adding to the formula to get results. You got to throw your own thing in it. You know?
Yeah.
Those of you who develop your synchronization will begin to see this image floating in and out of dreams, even in real time of your own reality while you're awake. These are basic steps. Let's go to a real challenge. Oh, I think I'll save that for another. I was about to go into something else, but the other thing is trying to move a star when you go out. Another technique the ancients used to do about moving fixated stars. All of this we do in the academy, and that's just a technique for someone to use if they're looking for.
It's interesting because I never read any of that, and that's exactly one of my processes. So it just goes to show, you know, that we're all connected. And with being able to, I was telling Ernest today, and then, you know, y'all, we coming to a close now. We'll probably have time maybe to take 1 or 2 questions. So if you want to go ahead and drop that in there, and Ernest will, you know, pull out a question if you got a question for Oni, and we'll present that question. We got about 6 minutes left in the show. But I wanted to say one thing that's very, very, very important that has been continued to be pressed upon me is that you must be a rebel. You must create your own way. You must find what works. What we give may not be that thing for you, but there may be bits and pieces that you can take from it and add your own twist to it, and then it works for you. And so that's the beauty of all of us having these pieces and presenting these angles of where we stand and how we perceive things. But make sure that you're creating yourself. And because we don't want you to become reliant upon the information we're giving. We're just here to stir the embers, so to speak. Because sometimes trying to work a job and take care of kids and go to school, like that shit really wear down on this part of you. So when we come before you, we're activating that. So we would like one of the moderators to put Oni's Cash App in there before we ask this question. And we're going to ask this question. What's your Cash App, fam?
My Cash App is $ Oni Osaru. ONIOSARU.
Okay, gotcha.
Combine it.
So be sure to, you know, show him some love. Y'all for coming on here. Y'all got our Cash App, Remnants Gathering. And I want you all to donate consciously when you do. Don't let anything go to waste. You are a magical being. You are not here to be mundane. You are here to turn the mundane into magical. And the most powerful thing that you can do is allow a lot of the natural process. Magic is very natural. Spirituality is very natural. It is the natural way of entering into the super or the supra. And so we're just activating, a lot of you already know this. And so the amnesia begins to, where it happens is wearing off. It's wearing off. We're beginning to remember that we are the ancient old ones. We got a question yet?
No question. No question.
I think I only hit them over the head with they processing.
Oh yeah.
Because I'm gonna have to replay this back myself.
Exactly. Yeah, we appreciate you, brother, for definitely dropping all of the knowledge on us. Yeah.
Problem. I love it, and we got to do this again. You know, we got to continue to connect with each other. Yeah, and it's real divine. I feel like we were short of time. But we have another opportunity each day. We have enough opportunities, and it was a pleasure being on your show.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe next time we could get into some astral sex. I had mentioned that because I think, I don't know, I feel like.
Oh yeah, I was prepared. We can get on that. Matter of fact, we make a show about that.
Okay.
Yeah, let's talk about it because I got some techniques and some shit I made up, and he probably gonna read some shit and it's gonna be. I'm like, oh shit, that's So you know.
All right.
Yeah. My mouth is a little shitty. My mouth is dirty sometimes. So I'm not the picture perfect female. Let me tell you, I got a dirty mouth, and I love it.
Yeah.
So hopefully I'm not a kicker.
I love it. Yeah.
But yeah, so y'all just, show some love. Again, thank you, Oni, so much. We're gonna let you go.
Appreciate it.
And as we always say, may your third eye is just been kissed. Peace.
Peace.